To call to order this meeting of Monroe County Board of Commissioners. It is March 3rd, 2021, and we'll begin with our public statement read by Commissioner Jones.
We, the Monroe County Board of Commissioners, renew our commitment to welcome and protect the rights of all people, regardless of age, race, color, creed, disability, sexual orientation, gender identity, marital status, economic status, and national origin. And we affirm the right of every person to live peacefully and without fear, and we will fight and resist at every step discrimination and harmful policies, whatever their source. We also stand in support of our county public school systems, both RBB and MCCSC.
Great, thank you so much. And we have an adjustment to our agenda.
Yeah, I would like to move to add item F to our agenda, ordinance 2021-03, amending the stormwater system equivalent residential unit rate.
Second.
Great, we have a motion and we have a second. Mr. Cockrell, will you please call the roll?
Commissioner Thomas.
Yes.
Commissioner Jones.
Yes.
Commissioner Githens.
Yes.
Motion is approved 3-0.
And I neglected to do so, but I will note for the record that all of the commissioners are present. So we just had that. All right, with that, we will move on to department updates. Today, to give our health department update is Ms. Margie Rice.
Good morning. I'm filling in for Penny Cottle, our health department administrator today, and wanted to share some news that because of our low positivity rate in Monroe County and our moderate level of spread, we will be moving to the category of blue. So Dr. Sharp is going to issue a new health order this week indicating that we are in level blue. One note though, our cases per 100,000 is still moderate, it's still in the yellow category. So it's not as if, the brakes can be completely taken off and we're ready to go ahead. She pointed out that we should expect sort of very slow, measured, incremental changes. The Board of Health will meet again on March 11th. It's a public meeting. Everyone in the public is invited to attend. It'll be via Zoom. They're going to revisit these regulations and orders, also be looking at those for communal living on March 11th. So I would encourage anybody who's got input to please show up for that Board of Health meeting. Again, the change that Dr. Sharp is making will indicate that we're going to level blue. One change, a specific change, is that bars that serve alcohol are going to be able to stay open until 2 a.m. rather than 1 a.m. Now, restaurants that don't serve alcoholic beverages will not be subject to that early closure. We have found in our conversations with owners of restaurants and bars that it's, again, the later the night goes, the more people drink, the harder it is to get compliance. But given our low positivity rate, we think changing that from 1 a.m. to 2 a.m. should be safe enough. But again, we'll monitor things. And that's really her update. There's not a whole lot other regarding COVID. I will tell you that related to the vaccine eligibility opened up this week to people who are age 55 and over, and they're continuing to schedule the vaccine. So if you check and appointments are full, please just keep checking back for openings. There are 9 locations where the vaccine is available here in Monroe County. It's IU Health, the Medical Arts Building, the Monroe County Health Department, Convention Center, Kroger, Sam's, and Walmart. So if you have any questions, you can always call the health department or get on their website. The website is chock full of information and should be able to answer your questions. And I'm happy to answer any questions you guys might have.
Great, let's come up with a really good question for Ms. Rice. Commissioner Jones?
I'll make up an answer.
Today isn't the day when I'm going to be doing that.
Commissioner Givens?
Not a question, but I'd also just like to add for the record that yesterday President Biden came out and indicated, sorry, it's not me. President Biden came out and said that teachers would now be eligible across the country to register to get their vaccines. And this includes all school staff, not just teachers. And I believe it also includes childcare workers, which is fabulous. This is a group that they're part of our essential workers. And I'm glad that President Biden stepped up and made that decision.
Yeah, for sure. Excellent. All right. Thank you so much. And I don't have any other comments. We appreciate you stepping in and providing the updates on behalf of Ms. Pottle. So thank you for that.
Happy to do that. Thank you.
Thanks. And next we have Allison Moore, Emergency Management. What a strange looking image we have, but that's okay.
Morning. I'm trying our new video conferencing.
There you are.
Yeah, so now that Al has picked up my voice, it just shows the room until here's the voice, and now it can be focused on me. So I decided to do our commissioners call this morning in our new Emergency Operations Center. And so I wanted to be able to show you, Commissioner Githens was able to stop by last week and provide some wonderful goodies for us for EMA week. So I'd like to start by thanking the commissioners for that. And she was able to see the Emergency Operations Center, but I wanted Commissioner Jones and Commissioner Thomas to be able to see the Operations Center. So we're excited that we have this wonderful new video conferencing system. And it's my understanding that's going to be the same system that you guys will be having in the Nat Hill room as construction is done. So you'll be able to see here how it's worked, and we are very, very happy with it. It is March, and March is Tornado Preparedness Month across the state of Indiana. So Monroe County has tackled on to that preparedness month, and that will be our topic of discussion for the month of March. I'd like to start with letting you know that Tornado Preparedness Week is March 14th through the 20th, and we will have a statewide tornado drill on March the 16th. That will be an additional drill than our monthly test. And so we are definitely advertising this ahead of time so that residents and homeowners will be aware that tornado siren will go off, and it will just be a test. And that is the test that we have an individual placed at all 41 of our tornado sirens. It's our one time a year. At every test we do every month, we have a handful of individuals that scatter amongst our tornado sirens to monitor them. But on this particular test, we identify an individual that will go to each of those sites and monitor to make sure that the timing is correct, the rotation is correct, and that it, of course, did activate. So we are currently scheduling individuals. And so if there is an individual that's on here, another county staff member, or any other individual that might be willing, that might be close in an area of a tornado siren that could step out and monitor for us, I would greatly take volunteers. And you can just shoot me an email and I will get you signed up to the appropriate tornado siren. For today, your weekly announcement about tornadoes is the difference between a watch and a warning. And oftentimes people find that very confusing, those both W words. The watch is when it is possible and you should start being prepared. The warning is when something has in fact been spotted and you should take action and find an interior place in your home or wherever you're located that is away from windows. And I'll probably mention that again throughout the month because that is, people often get very confused between the watch and the warning. We were able to get 10 more spots to one of our March blood drives. So they were both full, but we now have 10 spots available on March 17th. So if you go to the redcross.org website and March 17th happens to work in your schedule, we have been able to fill in 10 additional spots for that drive, which is exciting. And the Red Cross was wonderful to work with us and make that happen. And so we encourage individuals to go and get those 10 spots filled in the next 10 or so days. And we have continued to be very successful with those drives and continue to appreciate the Monroe County Convention Center and the Red Cross as they have helped coordinate those efforts. I wanted to let you know that I've reported last week or maybe prior, the week before, that the 2019 salary reimbursement was a go, and that drop has been dropped into the county fund. So that is excited. That is officially closed out. The 2020 salary reimbursement grant is now fully executed as of Monday. And so we will be uploading all of our documentation to show that we were in fact paid and we did in fact meet our state assessments. And by doing so then, shortly after those are uploaded, we will be receiving that 2020 salary reimbursement back to the county general fund. We also got our 2019 conference grant. So it seems forever ago we were awarded that grant, and we, because of COVID, had to do a grant adjustment. And so on Monday, we were able to receive those funds. We had our Emergency Management Advisory Council yesterday, and it was determined that we would go to the National Homeland Security Conference, which was what was allocated for that fund, as well as the ResCon conference with that grant fund, assuming that those conferences remain open, and of course, making sure that COVID procedures are in place. We are going Friday to pick up more supplies, PPE supplies for our first responders. We were able to receive another allotment of funds, which is always exciting. We always request when those requests become available. We've been very fortunate that every request we've made, we've been successful to receive. And so we are picking those up Friday afternoon and providing those to some of our first responders that are in need. And Kate and I have both been on FEMA classes this last week. Because of COVID, they're now offering these classes that normally we have to travel to virtually. So it's a wonderful opportunity for us to get in some training opportunities and not have to travel out of the state. And so we both were signed up for different classes at different times last week. And that was a wonderful accomplishment for both of us. We have a meeting with our health department and some of our first responders tomorrow, and we are going to be planning and discussing homebound vaccine procedures. And so I know that that information was released yesterday, that people could make appointments. And I love that, Commissioner Jones. And so we are working on getting all of our plans and procedures in place here. So we've had several different individuals that are homebound, have been in contact with our health department and our office wondering what exactly to do. So they can schedule 211 for that information. And we are working on getting our first responders a plan in place. So once again, it's been super busy here. Sorry for the long report, but we do have, seems to be, we have lots of moving parts happening, and that is all I have. And I would be willing to answer any questions you have.
Thank you so much, Ms. Moore. We appreciate you. Commissioner Jones, comments, questions?
No, I don't have any.
Commissioner Giffens?
Yes, what was the date again of that siren monitoring drill?
March 16th.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much, Ms. Moore. Busy as always. We appreciate you. And now we will move on to Ms. Ridge for road and street traffic update.
Good morning. Well, I don't have a lengthy report. It's keep it short and sweet for you. We're pothole patching, and thank goodness we hit a dry spell. So we needed that ground to dry after the snow melted, and then we had the rains last weekend. So the guys are out pothole patching. We're getting things set up for a busy construction season this year. So I just want to remind all the traveling public that, you know, watch out for the work zone areas, watch out for the men in the roadway. We have a lot going on around the county. It's just March, but we will be in full swing with all of our major improvement programs and our paving projects, our stormwater projects, our bridge maintenance projects. So we're ready to start a busy season. So if you have any questions about a certain project, I'd be happy to answer it.
All right. Thank you so much. Ms. Ridge, comments, questions? Commissioner Jones?
No, not at this time.
Commissioner Giffens?
No, thank you for staying on top of everything again.
Yeah, and folks can still report potholes through your website as well, correct? Just a reminder.
Absolutely. If you go to the website, we have a place where you can report the hazards, any type of hazard there. If you don't have internet access, you can call 812-825-5355 and our dispatcher would be able to take that request. And also, if you want to be on an email weekly closing of the upcoming closings that will happen, you can contact us by email, and then our IT department gets you added to that weekly notice that sends out on Friday afternoons or emergency closings, road closings. That's worked out really well for us. It keeps everybody informed of last minute closures. I think we have quite a few on that list that has signed up over the year. So.
That's great. Thank you for that update. Awesome. Thank you so much. All right. And with that, we will turn to technical services. Eric Evans.
Hi, everybody. To follow up on what Lisa was saying, we actually have about 87 people on our Monroe's listserv that get the alerts on the road closings. So I came here today, wanted to talk about the plans we've got for the Nat Hill Room rehab. As some of you may remember, we used to meet together in person in the Nat Hill Room on the 3rd floor of the courthouse. Collectively, we have all spent countless hours in that room, but it's funny to think that we're coming up on a year where we haven't met there for 12 months. So I think the time is rapidly approaching where we're going to start meeting in person. And the interesting thing about that is while we started this project before the pandemic and subsequent lockdown, when the lockdown happened, it really changed the nature of public meetings. Conducting public meetings in a virtual space like Zoom was something I don't think any of us would have thought of before 2020, but now it's impossible to picture it in any other way. I think without a doubt, the ability for citizens to attend our public meetings and have their voice heard remotely has radically increased the public involvement in our meetings, which of course increases the transparency of what we do here at the county. It also allows a lot more flexibility on the part of the elected officials and board members, where they no longer have to necessarily decide between attending a meeting in person and other responsibilities such as family obligations or other boards or meetings that they might have to attend that evening. So as a result, we started pivoting the Nat Hill project to create a blended environment where we could combine a live in-person meeting with online teleconferencing elements so that we can have the best of both worlds. And I think we now have a plan to accomplish that, and that's what I'm going to give you the broad strokes on. I'm going to go ahead and share the screen and pull up a schematic of the room itself. Okay. All right, can you see the photo of the Nat Hill Room? Okay, of course, that's your view from when you preside over the Board of Commissioners meetings. This is the actual schematic of the room itself. So let me get back to my notes. Okay, so the first thing that we really need, the two main complaints we had about the Nat Hill Room were the quality of sound on the live broadcasts, as well as the general low definition of the live broadcasts as CATS TV broadcasts it. The problem with the lower definition was one of the available bandwidth to the courthouse. So one of the things that we needed to do was install a fiber circuit to the courthouse so that CATS people can have kind of a direct high-speed highway to their studio at the Monroe County Public Library. Two of the next priorities were to fix the sound in the room and then also come up with a better plan for how we present things visually in the room. So as far as sound reinforcement goes, one of the issues that we had in the year building up to this project was, in order to get the volume in the room so that people that are actually working in the meetings could hear what was being said, we had to turn things up to a volume that frequently caused sound issues for the CATS crew. You know, they're a television crew. They want their sound to be optimal for the TV broadcast. Well, those are two elements that we've got to get balanced out, because it really is of no use having a clean audio track for broadcast if the people that are actually working in the room in the meeting can't hear what's being said. Now this becomes a challenging task. If you look at the schematic here, what we're looking at is basically a rectangle that is made up of plaster walls and glass windows, some of the most reflective surfaces from a sound standpoint. So the room is problematic from that standpoint. Now, the carpeting in the room helps a lot to deaden the natural acoustics, but the historic aesthetic of the room is such, we were kind of limited in what our options were as far as other traditional ways that you typically dampen sound bouncing around and something like that. We can't really put up the sound dampening panels on the walls and hanging them from the ceiling. So that has taken us a fair amount of discussion and experimentation to come up with a solution for that. Essentially, we are going to locate 4 speakers, Bose speakers. You know, if you remember the Bose speakers, Paul Harvey used to really like the Bose speakers on his radio show. We're going to put those around the room. We're also going to replace the pan speakers that are recessed in the ceiling above the back audience area. Additionally, let me switch to this. Okay, so can you see that picture of the little box?
Yes.
Okay, so if you remember, we've got those microphones that are like on the gooseneck stick, okay? We're gonna replace those with ones that are slightly newer, and about every other one of these microphones is gonna have a base like this. And essentially what this is, that, you know, the microphone will come up from here, but this is a sound monitor for the person sitting there. You'll have control over the volume itself, and there's a special circuit there that prevents the output from the speaker from being picked up by the microphone, so you won't get the feedback. I think this is going to help a lot. We've been having some issues where there are kind of dead zones in the front line when the county council sets up, where you really can't hear too well. And having the end users have control over a speaker right in front of them, I think will really help quite a bit. Let's see here. So all of the feeds from the microphones, let me get back to this. Okay, so all of the feed from the microphones will be sent down here and then up to what I call the choir loft. There's a rack in the corner. There's going to be a processing unit there that can be each mic channel is going to be split in 2, with one of those splits going to a mixing board that CATS will have, so that they can have their own discrete control over the audio mix that they send for their broadcast. The other split is going to go to a processing unit, so someone from tech services can then create an on-the-fly mix in the room using an iPad that they can use as they move around the room, or they can use it at that computer that we have set up for them. there. It'll give us much better control over that sort of thing. Now, let's talk a little bit about the visual aspects of the room. Now, Ms. Moore from Emergency Management actually was a little incorrect when she said that we do have a set of those owl speakers that she is using out at the new Emergency Management Center. But actually, in the Nat Hill room, we have a fairly expensive amount of really high def computer or, cameras that are being used by CATS to broadcast. So we really wanted to leverage that. So as we broadcast via Zoom to people out in the public, what we're going to do is we're going to take that feed from CATS where they've already cut between the different cameras. They can do pan, tilt, zoom, all that stuff that they broadcast to their channel is going to be going out as the Monroe County feed. So basically we had to get some processing gear that would bridge the gap between their video processing stuff and the stuff that we will send for our Zoom feed. Now, it is true that I did get a pair of those owl cameras. And let's talk about that for a second. Camera that Allison was using out at the Emergency Management Center is a relatively new technology called the meeting owl. They call it that because it looks kind of like an owl, I guess. But everyone likes cute marketing things. Essentially, looking at this whole area here is a broadcast speaker. The camera is in this dome above, and what it does is it sends two different feeds. One is a panoramic view of the entire room, but then it auto senses where a person who is speaking is at, and it'll split the camera so it'll have up to 3 different people if they're talking. The same time will be split up. So essentially what you're seeing here is there's one single owl that's sitting in the center of these people's table. It automatically zooms and focuses in. So I got this pair of meeting owls for 2 reasons. We're able to put together a portable solution that we can move. We can use it in courtrooms. We can use it in some of the larger meeting rooms around the county. And I thought it would give us an interim step, so that if something happens and like the governor says we're going back to live meetings on Monday, we now have the ability to go back to live meetings and still do a Zoom blended environment using these meeting owls. So we will use those cameras, but when we get finished with the final project from the Nat Hill room, we'll ultimately be using the expensive high def cameras that CATS uses. Let's talk for a second about the view screens in the room. That's another problem that we had issues solving because of the historic nature of the room. You can't really put up a video wall like you see in more contemporary meeting spaces. So what the plan we have for that is we are going to replace the view screens that are currently there with larger, more detailed screens. So those will be available. But we also started experimenting around with essentially a self-contained, completely portable audiovisual cart. And this is sort of a rough idea of what I'm talking about with this concept. But essentially, and this is a prefab version of what we're talking about. We have plans to get something nicer looking, but essentially what this will give us, we'll put a slanted view screen on top, probably about 30 inches wide. In the cart area, we will have a completely self-contained computer and battery and a Wi-Fi transmitter. So essentially, once these things are powered up, they can be moved on the fly anywhere in the Nat Hill room. Having said that, this looks like something you'd go and buy at Office Depot. So actually what I think we're going to do is talk to Richard Kreider. So Richard Kreider is the maintenance guy who did the very beautiful lectern that's in the Nat Hill room. And he's pretty excited about the idea of drawing up some plans where we could have an AV cart like this that's just high enough so that when you're sitting along the front, you can see over the screen at the audience, but still see the screen. And he's going to make them so that they match aesthetically with the lectern that we've got in the Nat Hill room, as well as the, the benches that you all sit at. Bandwidth, the bandwidth is installed and ready to go. We signed a contract some months ago with Smithville Digital. So that's a direct route that goes, right now it's in the basement of the basement of the courthouse, but eventually we'll get it run to the choir loft area, and that'll go straight back to their studio at Monroe County Library. The other thing I would add in this that will be of interest to primarily the council, I think, is the processing unit that's going to do all the audio is also going to create a digital recording of all the meetings. So we no longer have to run FTR on the side like we do. It'll basically automatically record everything, and we can have it auto archive it someplace where it'll be accessible to people. And finally, let's talk about just briefly about one of the bullet points we had with this was to make sure that we do this rehab in a way that maximizes the accessibility of the project. Certainly with public meetings being able to be handled over Zoom, it increases dramatically the accessibility for the meetings for people that maybe have mobility issues and things of that nature. The new processing rig that we're going to put in there will greatly enhance our ability to have people wear listening assisted devices in the room. We have those already, but it also gives us other options for some slightly more high-end aids like that. We also talked about getting closed captioning on our Zoom feed. And I've researched that. We do have that ability with our Zoom license. But I'd really like to take a look at getting it professionally closed captioning. I've spent in the couple years leading up to my father passing away, he watched a lot of closed captioning, and there's a really big difference between what's automatically generated by something and a professional person doing closed captioning. So I'm working on getting pricing for that. I'd like to have it professionally done. And I think if need be, I'm fairly confident we can find a grant to provide monies for that, because obviously it'll be more expensive than having Zoom do it automatically. So that's a lot of stuff to throw at you all at once. I'm sure you've got a lot of questions. So what are your thoughts?
Thank you, Mr. Evans. Excellent presentation, very thorough. Commissioner Jones, comments, questions?
Thank you for all you're doing there. It's really very exciting. I think we're all looking forward to being able to be back there and making use of all of these innovations. The last thing that I remember having discussed, and it may not have been so much with you, you may not be the right person to ask about this, but we had a long discussion about the floor treatment.
Right.
You know how that ended up being decided?
We have a couple options with that. And I'm going to defer ultimately to probably Angie Purdy on that. I believe that the project, as has been quoted out and discussed with our vendor, can be done without tearing up the floor. There are troughs located under the floor, and that's where the wiring is run, and our wiring folks think that they can do that without tearing up the floor. Now, having said that, you know, I know in having discussions with Angie previous that, you know, she felt that the floor needed to be worked on anyway. I mean, I don't know anything about that sort of thing. I'm a computer guy, so I'm going to defer to Angie on that point.
I'll take that as the baton being transferred. And yeah, we haven't really moved forward at all on the flooring, but we do believe that a refresher of that particular carpet is definitely going to be necessary. I think you made it pretty clear to all of us that the acoustics require that we actually have carpeting, despite our interest in having a lovely wooden floor.
I mean, I understand the appeal of the you know, having something other than carpeting, but I had 4 different vendors in, and they were all unequivocal in saying you're going to have a lot of problems if you don't have carpet. That essentially is the only sound dampening in that room. And you know, there's that dome on the top,
Yeah.
with plaster. I mean, yeah. So
Yeah. So yeah, and what I do want to leave open is if we need to make any changes in the flooring, add data ports on the floor or something like that, we can at least do that, and then we can put in a nice carpet on top of it so that it all blends together.
Thank you.
Commissioner Gibbons?
Yeah, I want to thank you for being so thorough with this, first of all, but it sounds like we're going to need a little training as we move forward with all the new technology too. But it sounds great. I'm looking forward to it.
yeah, I think, you know, I wouldn't be frightened too much of all the changes. I mean, I think there's going to be a little bit of a false start when we first get in the room and figure out the new rules of engagement of doing Zoom in a room. But I, you know, the first several meetings, I'll make sure that we're staffed up pretty well on that. And as we get closer to doing that, I'll be able to give more details, I guess, on that.
Yeah, so I think it makes sense to, it sounds like we're holding off on the carpet replacement, and that seems to make sense because that could be done over a weekend. But, you know, waiting to see if there's some other things that need to be done under that floor makes sense. But I know we talked about, I think where we ended it was having some wood trim on the dais, but then just carpet the rest. And so I thought that that was where we ended up, and I'm sure Angie can correct me if I'm wrong. So, okay, we're good. All right. So the other question I have for you is, during the actual meeting itself, there's really not going to be a need to do anything that's much different than what we do now on Zoom. Once we're back at Nat U Hill, that's my understanding.
Yes, you know, so I'm trying to keep it somewhat flexible. In an ideal world, yes, you would actually start doing the meeting just like you did it in the before times, and the cameras in the room are all being mixed and moved around by the CATS people, and that's what's going out as the Zoom feed. If we get into a situation where like maybe it's a county council meeting and 2 of the county council people are Zooming in a situation like that, we'll have their feeds up on the view screens. Same thing, you know, if like one of you guys goes on vacation and still wants to, you know, Zoom in for the meeting, you know, we could do the same thing in the Board of Commissioners meeting. Yeah. I think that's going to be a substantive difference. I think we'll probably get a lot of vendors that will want to present remotely, and that'll be fine. That'll open up the door for maybe some vendors that are, you know, have a problem getting here for a meeting.
Yeah, and I think the largest group that meets on the dais there is the Plan Commission, but then we also have, because there's 9 plus the city members, so possibly 10. And I would say the other thing is, it sounds like the owl camera will work really well for work sessions that are in the U-shaped table in the center of the room. That would be that would be a really good solution if we need that. So excellent. We're really looking forward to it. Thanks for the update, and we appreciate all of your hard work. I know it seems strange to be talking about like the before times, the VP before the pandemic, but we're going to have an AP after pandemic, and it feels like we're in a good place to continue to be really transparent and inviting for the community to attend our meetings, even if they can't be there in person. So thank you so much.
All right, thanks.
All right, excellent. Let's see if there are any other department heads that have an update for us. I don't see any. All right, with that, we will move on to public comment. Public comment is for items that are not on our agenda, and limited to 3 minutes per person. And we would ask that you go to the bottom of the screen and to raise your hand. You will have 3 minutes total. At 2 minutes and 30 seconds, you will hear a tone. Thank you, Ms. Dayton. When you hear that, you have 30 seconds remaining in your comment. This also holds true for commenting on specific agenda items later in this meeting. It looks like we have at least one person right now who wishes to speak. Mr. Shelton.
Good morning, Commissioners. Jim Shelton with the Greater Bloomington Chamber of Commerce. Just want to say kudos to you and to Mr. Evans for what he just described. Can't comment on the technical aspects of it, but what you're trying to achieve is something that we've been advocating for and still do, for increased transparency. And I know I've been able to participate in many more meetings than I ever could have before, BP, than now. But so I really congratulate you on doing that and look forward to the day when we can have that actually working. So thank you for your efforts. Thank you, Mr. Evans.
Thank you, Mr. Shelton. We appreciate you. Let's see if you make a comment. Just click on the raise hand at the bottom of the screen. I do not see anyone else. And so with that, we will move on to our next agenda item, please.
Move approval of the minutes for February 24th, 2021.
Second.
We have a motion and we have a second. Any comments, questions, edits? Okay, Mr. Cockrell, will you please call the roll on approval minutes for February 24th, 2021?
Commissioner Thomas,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Githens.
Yes.
Motion is approved 3-0.
All right, thank you so much. Next item, please.
Move approval of the claims docket accounts payable for March 3rd, 2021.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Mr. Miller, good morning.
Good morning. The total for claims was $1,336,180.88. $215,713.13 was for January food and beverage tax distribution. $168,310.68 was for Anthem Blue Cross and Blue Shield February claims and fees. $143,029.05 was for Richland Bean Blossom Community School Corporation's for STEM Fall 2020 settlement. $119,680.13 was for Activate Healthcare for deferred revenue for April through June. And finally, $83,601.33 was for February innkeeper's tax distribution.
Great. Thank you so much, Mr. Miller. And you know, we're going to ask you how many days?
25.
All right. So exciting. Comments, questions, Commissioner Jones?
No, I don't.
Commissioner Githens?
No, I had questions about the Activate payments, but those were already answered for me, so thanks.
Yeah, we appreciate you, Mr. Miller. Let's see if there's any public comment on this item. Just click the raise hand button at the bottom of the screen. And I do not see any. So with that, we will come back to a roll call vote. Mr. Cockrell, please.
Commissioner Thomas,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Githens.
Yes.
Motion is approved, 3-0.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I will note for the public that we have received 2 reports. One is the Clerk of the Circuit Court, January 2021. The other is the Weights and Measures Report, which runs from January 16th to February 15th, 2021. And with that, we will move on to new business.
Move to approve ordinance 2021-06 regarding the COVID-19 CARES Safety Awareness Grant. Fund name, County General and COVID Monroe County General CARES Act. Fund number, that was Monroe County Government, sorry. Fund number 108901 in the amount of $476,655.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Could you tell us about it, Mr. Cochran?
Yes, if you'll recall, in October, we did a similar ordinance for the bulk of the CARES grant. This is another wave of that for public safety use. That county general is the fund that the money will end up going into, and the CARES fund is the one that will actually receive the money from the granting agency, the government. So it goes to that fund, and then it'll be transferred to the county general fund, just like we did with the bulk of the CARES grant in October and November and December when we set this up. This is just to make sure that the paper trail is there for the auditing of those transfers.
Okay, thank you so much. Comments, questions, Commissioner Jones?
I don't.
Commissioner Githens?
No, I'm just pleased that we're able to do this for the whole county.
Yeah, is this specifically for the health department or public safety, or I guess I'm just trying to figure out if there is an earmark on this money that it needs to go to a certain type of activity.
It needs to go to public safety. So I think, and maybe Bree may be on the call and be able to answer that better, but okay. I think it's just public safety, similar to what we.
Thank you. It seemed like it, and then I read through the resolution again, and then I started wondering if I'd maybe misread it. So thank you so much. Let's see if there's any public comment on this item. Just simply raise your hand. And I see none. So Mr. Cockrell, will you please call the roll on ordinance 2021-06?
Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Githens?
Yes.
Motion is approved, 3-0.
All right, thank you so much. And we'll move on to the next item, please.
Move to approve the revised COVID-19 reimbursement policy. Fund name, County General, fund number 1000, and the amount is not applicable.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and we have a second. Tell us about it, Mr. Cockrell.
And the amount of the money is not applicable because it doesn't change what we have associated with it. I think that the amount left is what's applicable. We've given grants of over, through either the CARES program or this program, of over $700,000. We do have a appropriation and we have some remaining, but not a ton. And so what this does, it allows or it clarifies the process where the applicant makes an application, our contractor, Ms. Owens, and the auditor's office reviews those to see if they would fit within the parameters of the CARES grant. And then it goes to the county commissioners for review. This just kind of clarifies, kind of what your criteria for review is. And it's economic vitality and stability social service agencies who are specifically addressing food and housing insecurity and other housing needs. And it retains the $300 or the $30,000 cap for both the CARES grants that we awarded last year and this grant program itself. It just kind of clarifies that the money's getting a little bit tighter. And so I think those kind of reviews, I think in addition to this, I think we envision this coming to a work session once a month to kind of go over and review those, and then the following week make the approvals and the claims for those kind of items.
Great, excellent. So it gives us the opportunity to prioritize some of the requests if we need to. All right, let's see if we have comments or questions. Commissioner Jones?
Yeah, I'm just relieved that we have this money and have been able to use it so helpfully within the community. We are beginning to run low, so we do need to start prioritizing.
Commissioner Giffens?
Yeah, did you get the date changed on that so that it doesn't say April 31st, it switches it to April 30th?
The 12th of never.
Yeah.
I believe Anita made those corrections.
Yeah. I like the 12th of never. So, and we can, if need be, we can go back to the council to ask for additional funds. But it does seem like the requests are slowing down a bit, which is good news, which hopefully means that our economy is still vital and businesses are rebounding well. But we can always go back to the council for additional funds. But I think it's important that we recognize the prioritization that needs to happen, especially in these last few months. So, so Ms. Owens plans to be at our work session on the 10th of March, and then we'll, on the 17th, we'll be wearing green, and we will then at that point have it at the regular meeting as well. And then there's still the opportunity for any entity that is denied funding for any reason that they can ask for a review as well. So, all right, excellent. Thank you so much for working through this. Let's see if there are any comments from the public. Just simply raise hand at the bottom of the screen. I'll look through here. And I don't see any public comment. So with that, Mr. Cockrell, will you please call the roll on the motion to approve the revised COVID-19 reimbursement policy?
Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Githens?
Yes.
Motion is approved, 3-0.
Okay. Thank you so much for all your work on that. And we'll move on to the next item, please.
Move to approve ratification of an LED Indy agreement, fund name, County General, fund number 1000, in the amount of $43,729.
Second.
Great, we have a motion and a second.
Good
Ms.
morning.
Purdy.
This is, as you indicated, is a ratification. We talked about this last week during the work session. And I do have Mr. Bill Melland with LED Indy also on the call, should there be questions or allow him to provide more information that's specific to this product. But we have done this, we've installed these Xenic UV disinfection hover units in the majority of our other buildings, county buildings, but the health building was under renovation at the time. And so that we didn't get the health building activate or actually the futures component of the health building. So this will take care of those, as well as somehow we missed the assessor's office. And then there were a few additional offices that we found needed an additional unit based on updated information specific to room occupation numbers. So that's where I'm going to leave this. And then if you guys have questions or if you would like to have Mr. Melland provide more information about these units, I'm going to hand it over to you and him.
Great. Thank you so much. We appreciate Mr. Melland being here. Let's see if there are any questions for Mr. Melland or Ms. Purdy. Commissioner Jones.
No, not at this time. I'm just glad we're able to do this to keep our employees as healthy and safe as possible.
Commissioner Gibbons?
Yeah, I was wondering if I should get some for my own home, you know, I mean, it seems so, no, it seems so reasonable and sensible to be doing.
Yeah. Did you have anything you wanted to add, Mr. Melland? Take that as a no. Okay.
Yeah, that was a silence.
Okay, we're good. Well, these are the same. This is the same product we've installed before. We've had the presentation, so this isn't a new thing. So excellent. All right, let's see if there are any comments from the public. Please raise your hand at the bottom of the screen, and I do not see any hands raised. So with that, Mr. Cockrell, will you please call the roll on the ratification of the LED Indy agreement?
Commissioner Thomas.
Yes.
Commissioner Jones.
Yes.
Commissioner Githens.
Yes.
Motion is approved, 3-0.
Great. Thank you so much. Next item, please.
Move to approve quadrant agreement for the lease of a postage meter. Fund Health Fund number 1159 in the amount of $199.83 per month for 48 months.
Right. We have a motion and we have a second. Ms. Birdie.
Good morning again, and this is actually for the health department. They had a different meter that they were using, and that contract has terminated. And so this provides them with a similar, or actually the same kind of postage meter that we're using in the courthouse for our departments here. And it meets the, please don't ask me what it means, but it meets the United States Postal Service's requirements for data and security management with what's called an intelligent mail indicia. This contract is, I've been told, is a slight increase from the prior contract. However, we were not able to get a response from the prior vendor, so we don't know how it would actually compare to their next proposal. So this is $199.83 per month for 48 months, and this is coming out of the health fund.
Right. Thank you so much, Ms. Purdy.
Welcome.
Comments, questions, Commissioner
No, I
Jones?
don't.
Commissioner Githens?
No, it looks like a pretty high-tech machine though, from looking at all the descriptions.
Yeah. All right, let's see if there's any public comment on this item. Simply click on the raise hand feature at the bottom of the Zoom screen. And seeing none, we'll come back to the board for a roll call vote. Mr. Cockrell, will you please call the roll on the quadrant agreement for the postage meter?
Commissioner Thomas.
Yes.
Commissioner Jones.
Yes.
Commissioner Githens.
Yes.
Motion is approved, 3-0.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next item, please.
Move to approve the Monroe County Highway inventory revisions.
Second?
Great. We have a motion and a second. Ms. Ridge.
Good morning again. So we have accepted some, or would like you to accept some new roads into our inventory for maintenance. The roads, 3 of them were a county project: Keller Crossing, Knapp Road, and Wellness Way. And then we have Production Drive and Witherby Drive that was constructed. They were all built to today's standards. They've been inspected by our engineer, and we would like to send that up to NDOT, so we will start receiving funding to maintain those roads.
All right, excellent. Comments, questions, Commissioner Jones?
No, I don't.
Commissioner Giffens?
Thanks for cluing me in on the fact that we will get extra money through NDOT. That's their official, thank you. I thought
It's a really lengthy calculation, so don't ask me what we get per mile, because it's about a 3-page calculation on how they come up with what we get, but we have to submit it to them, and then that if they accept it, then that increases what we get in our MVH.
MVH, yeah. Okay, excellent. Yeah, it has to do with how many lathes and
it is, and it goes into population and mileage and gas tax. So there's a lot of different scenarios for our MVH, but one of them is the mileage that we maintain. So we'd like to stay up on that. And I might add that we are adding 2.152 miles, and that will give us approximately 720.74 miles to maintain.
great. Thank you so much. I always have, every once in a while, somebody will say, well, why can't the county pick up trash, and why can't the county pick up recycling? And it's like, there's over 720 miles of roadway.
Yeah.
It's a lot more than people think. So excellent. We appreciate you stayed on top of all of this. I know it's calmed down a bit since they finally finished I-69, because I remember there was a great deal involved with that, adding roadways to inventory. But it's really important to stay on top of this. So I appreciate your hard work on that. Let's see if there's any public comment on this item. Just simply go to the bottom of the Zoom screen and click on the raise hand feature. And seeing none, we'll come back for a roll call vote. Mr. Cockrell, on the Monroe County Highway inventory revisions.
Commissioner Thomas,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Giffens.
Yes.
Motion is approved, 3-0.
Great. Thank you so much. All right, and now we have item F,
Move to
please.
approve ordinance 2021-03, amending the stormwater system equivalent residential unit rate.
Second.
Great, we have a motion and we have a second. Who is going to be managing this? Ms. Ridge?
I would be happy to speak on behalf of this. I don't know if I think Dave Schilling's on here also. Over the past year, we had on the stormwater management board, and being staff of part of that board, we have gone under we had a financial analysis done for the department to detail kind of where the direction of the department needs to go, our funding options, our capital improvement projects, staff on board. So we took all of those different ideas. We worked with our financial group, FSG, and they came up with the analysis. What we have discovered especially over the past year or so, is that our stormwater fee was very low compared to all other entities that have a stormwater fee in the county. I believe we were in the bottom 12 in that scenario. Our current rate is, Dave probably has that in his paperwork, $35.17, I believe. And we were asking, I know it's an increase of approximately $77. And again, I'll let Dave speak on that. I think he has all those numbers prepared. This has gone through a public hearing. Through our stormwater management board. It has been discussed at that board meeting for the past probably 3 or 4 months. It also went to our county council on Monday evening. Actually, it was a week ago. And then also Monday evening, they reconvened their meeting to continue the discussion on the rate increase. So we have had the public hearing on that. It has been in the newspaper. I believe it's been on our website. The financial report is on our website also to justify the request for this fee increase. And Dave, if you want to do the details of it.
I will. Thank you very much.
Mr. Schilling.
Great presentation, Lisa. This ordinance would increase the stormwater system user fee from $35.16 to $75.77. And the stormwater rate was established about 10 years ago. And the staff started preparing studies and reports and programs and projects schedules to meet their stormwater obligations. But over that last decade, there have been some changes that really make an increase in the storm rate necessary. There's been an increase in the cost of construction. The establishment of many new developments has increased stormwater pressures. The climate change has certainly had an effect on the way stormwater flows in our county. And IDEM and the EPA have come up with regulations recently adopted that are going to put additional burdens on our stormwater division staff. So with all those things, it seemed like a good time to think about raising the fee. And as Lisa noted, they sort of conducted a rate study and matched it up with programs that the stormwater division proposed to the stormwater board. Stormwater board chose one of the programs and that they deemed to be reasonable and responsible. And the rate, according to the study associated, that would be $75.77. And this is an annual fee that is collected through the tax bills. And so the rate is based on what's called an ERU, or equivalent residential unit is what that stands for. So there's a flat rate for all residential properties. So no matter how big or small your house is, it's going to be $75.77 if this ordinance is adopted. For non-residential developed properties, there is an actual assessment that is done by staff. And for example, an equivalent residential unit is deemed to be 5,200 square feet. So if there's a property that's non-residential developed, it has a parking lot that's 10,400 square feet. Let's say that's the only thing that's on the property. That would be two equivalent residential units. So they would pay 2 times $75.77. So that's how the fee system works. So that's why the request is made. As Lisa noted, we've followed the statutory procedures to have a study done showing that this fee is reasonably related to the cost of the program selected. The Stormwater Board conducted a hearing on the fee of $75.77. There was public participation in that. They adopted that recommendation and it went to the county council on Monday. The council decided to approve that after much discussion, and it is before the commissioners today for the final approval. And we request that you do that. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Mr. Schilling. Comments, questions, Commissioner Jones?
Yeah, I just want to emphasize once more that this is a yearly fee. People will not be asked to pay it on a monthly rate only once a year. So it's not quite as bad as some people are thinking it is. I also want to point out that while Monroe County had one of the lower fees in the state, our topography and the pace of development in Monroe County are actually causing us to have more severe flooding problems than many other places in the state. ever have to contend with. So this really is a very needed fee.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Commissioner Githens?
Yes, I don't know the numbers. I should have looked them up earlier, but there are a lot of outstanding requests I know for people wanting help with what's going on with the flooding. And I know that the department has prioritized them, but with the current levels of staffing, you haven't been able to really keep up with the demand. So hopefully some of this will help with that demand. Fewer people will see flooding in their basements. We will not have people endangered because of flooding roads. This really is both a safety and a property value kind of move on the part of the stormwater board. So.
And you're correct. We probably have over 150 open requests. We prioritize. Increasing this fee will help us be able to do some of those projects that we can contract out that are over the $250,000 threshold, but it's not a $1 million project, it's a capital improvement project. We're not going to be able to fix every problem out there in the county, depending on where homes are built, but we do our best to investigate the situation, and if we can help, we'll do anything that we can do to alleviate that problem. In all the public hearings and the council meetings, one huge point that stands out for me, myself, and running this department is that we're doing such a high increase in 1 year, and that it's been requested that we analyze this, every year and see where the department is at. And I just want to assure the public and the comments and the county council and the stormwater board and the commissioners that is our goal. That's the direction we will take. We're listening. We understand the concern of raising it. And it's not our goal to be in this position again, that we will do what's been requested and provide all the reports and watch the direction of the department each year and provide that report to the council and to the stormwater board and to you as commissioners.
Well, but the rate had not been increased since it was put into effect in 2013. So yes. That's sort of, at this point, water under the bridge, right? And as we talked about.
Yeah, you're correct. I just want to make sure that when people do make comments about we do listen, and we work for the county, and we work for.
Oh, we lost her.
Still
yeah, but also taking care of the flooding helps to take care of roads, and so if we can do that right, we'll reduce the cost of some of what we're putting into our road system.
Yeah, and we do need to be more. We're going to be looking more carefully at plans from a single house to huge developments, because we already do provide stormwater support, MS4 operator review, especially when there's drainage basins and things like that on a large scale development. But we're going to be looking more closely at everything, to be more preventative, to be proactive rather than reactive, which I think is going to be a huge benefit to everyone in the community. Every time we do anything or build anything, we're impacting all of the people around us. We're impacting the roadways, we're impacting the waterways, we're impacting the water quality. We don't live in a bubble, and it compounds itself. When one thing happens, one thing is built improperly, it really compounds the problem down the line. And as Commissioner Jones pointed out, between climate change and our topography and our development, we have to be really careful, because we are living in a very sensitive environment. I will also note a couple other things. The council did approve this on Monday. There was some discussion about they felt pressured because of the time, and we appreciate that. In a nutshell, we've basically had to have a meeting about 8 days earlier than we would have asked them to provide final consideration. Normally that would have happened at their regular meeting in March, which is next Tuesday. But because of the necessity of getting the calculations into the tax bills on time to get them out for the treasurer's office, we did ask that they have this extra meeting and meet 8 days earlier. And we appreciate their flexibility and their willingness to do so. It is really important that we do take care of these items. It's about maintenance, it's about prevention, and it's interesting that the requirements and the increased requirements, which we're way behind as a state in terms of our rules and regulations, but the fact that that came out after we'd already talked about increasing the rate, we're actually a bit ahead of things right now, right? Because we heard about that after we'd already talked about the fact that we have maintenance that we need to do and we have big projects we need to get finished and how we're going to do that. And then along comes the fact that the state is going to be imposing new rules. We're actually ahead of the game right now. And that feels pretty good. So we appreciate everybody's flexibility. We did have some concerns, as Commissioner Jones mentioned. There were some folks who thought this was a monthly fee. This is not a monthly fee. It is an annual fee. But if we pass this today, it will be part of the tax bills for May. So this year. So just so everybody is aware of that. Let's see if there are any members of the public who wish to offer comment. Let's click on, let's see, B Square Beacon.
Good morning, commissioners. Can you hear me?
We sure can.
So this is a fee, but it's going to be added to the tax bill. And I'm wondering if it makes any difference whether we call this a fee or a tax, because this certainly feels more like a tax to me, because it's not possible to alter your use of the commodity that you're paying the fee for, so that you pay less. So if it were the case that the fee were calibrated, say, to the amount of impervious surface on your actual property, and you could reduce the amount you paid by reducing the impervious surface by, say, tearing up your asphalt driveway and putting like a prairie or something like that, that would make sense to me as a fee, but it's just a flat rate. So it feels more like a tax. So I'm wondering, is there any worry about calling it a fee, given the structure of the actual assessment? And this is more of a comment or a musing than a question. And I understand that there's no obligation to answer questions from public comment, but I just wanted to share with you, that's my perspective, having lived in Michigan, where this would absolutely be a tax the way it's structured. And if it's a tax in Michigan, if you want to raise it, you'd have to put it to a voter referendum. So for something like this feels to me like, oh, this should go to the voters, but it doesn't, because this is Indiana, not Michigan.
Right.
Thanks. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Askins. And see if Mr. Schilling has any comments on this. I'm guessing that this relates to Indiana state statute.
Yes, can you hear me?
We can.
Okay, thanks. It does relate to statute. The statute expressly authorizes us to charge the fee in a number of ways, including a flat rate or any combination of the menu of methods for collecting the fee. It's a great question, because a few years ago, I think this matter was before the Indiana tax court, and the tax court judge concluded that it was indeed a tax. Shortly thereafter, the Indiana legislature adopted some legislation essentially reversing that decision and making it clear that the stormwater fee is not a tax. So it's a rate as long as it's reasonably related to the services provided.
Great, thank you for that. And I'm assuming that that is related to the circuit breaker issue of why it's a fee instead of a tax. I'm assuming.
Yeah, it would impact that, but
yeah.
if it were a tax.
Okay. Right. And that's why it matters in Indiana, because of our circuit breaker amendment. Okay, excellent. A little lesson for all of us today. Thank you for that. Let's see if there's any other, there are any other comments or questions. All right, I do not see any. And so with that, Mr. Cockrell, will you please call the roll on ordinance 2021-03?
Commissioner Thomas,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Githens.
Yes.
Motion is approved, 3-0.
Great, thank
Thank
you
you.
so much. I will note that we do not have any appointments today. Just a couple of quick announcements, just a reminder to check out the information on our website if you are a business or a social service organization providing COVID relief or assistance, or your business that has COVID-related expenses that have not been covered by another funding source and are not payroll related, that Monroe County government is continuing to provide grant monies through the end of April. That's the deadline to apply. It's the same thing we talked about just a few items ago, where we'll be looking and reviewing the submissions next Wednesday at our work session, and then having a vote in March for those items that we received in February. So if you want to apply, please do so, co.monroe.in.us. Funds are limited, although we can go back to the council to ask for additional funding, but as of right now, the funds are limited. So we encourage you, if you have those expenses, to not hold on to those receipts, but to actually get them in. Also for county residents, the Board of Commissioners have worked with the County Council to provide township assistance funding. And the Township Assistance Fund is there to help our township trustees provide assistance, financial assistance directly to our residents. Every county resident lives in the township, and every township trustee has access to this funding. This is money that can help with things like rent, utilities, or other bills that reflect the necessities of life. So if you are struggling to keep a roof over your head, family needs assistance with utilities, etc., please contact your township trustee. There is a comprehensive contact list for every township trustee available at co.monroe.in.us, and then go to the emergency management page. I don't have anything else. Do you have anything else, Commissioner Githens, Commissioner Jones?
I was in touch with Allison Moore a little bit more on that tornado siren monitoring. That's to occur on March 16th. It will actually be in the morning, sometime between 10 and 10:30. So if volunteers are available, they should contact Ms. Moore to help with that.
Great, thank you so much. All right, and with that, we are going to be adjourned. It is 11:27. We're going to have our work session. So let's go with 11:40. Is that okay with you, Commissioner Githens? Great. All right, our work session will begin at 11:40. All right, thanks everyone, and be well.